Hey guys, it's Julie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a reading check-in video for you guys. I'm gonna let you know the books that I've read recently and what I'm currently reading. So November was not a great reading month for me. I managed to finish two books. I finished another two books recently, but my reading has just slowed down so much. I feel like this whole year it's been really slow, but it always slows down this time of year, like with the holidays, because we have Thanksgiving and then Nora's birthday and then Christmas and then it's Scarlett's birthday. So it's just go, go, go around this time of year. That, and I've also been playing a lot of video games. Well, mainly just two video games. So Spyro Remastered came out on the 13th of November, so I've been playing that a lot. Spyro is, oh, here's Ella. Spyro is one of the games that I remember playing with my mom a lot, so it has that nostalgic feeling to it, and the remaster has been awesome. I've loved it. So I've been playing that a lot, and then as well as Stardew Valley. I feel like I go through these phases with Stardew Valley where I play it a ton for a few months and then I take a break and then I come back to it and I start a new farm. So I've been doing that, and I've been playing that on PC, which I'm not a PC gamer, I'm a console gamer. We have a PS4. But the guy who created Stardew Valley put out a whole bunch of new content for it this summer. And in order to get that new content, I have to play it on PC right now because it's gonna come to the consoles later. So yeah, multiplayer came out and then like a whole bunch of new stuff, which if you play Stardew Valley and don't have anyone else to do multiplayer with, I would love to check it out. So leave me a comment down below. I don't know if anyone else plays Stardew Valley, I'm sure they do. But yeah, that's been taking up a lot of my reading time as well. But fun, it's fun. I love to play video games. But like I said, I did manage to finish two books in November, and the first one was the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I absolutely loved this. I loved this so much. It was written so beautifully. Like, I completely understand the hype now surrounding Madeline Miller, and I'm so excited to read Circe because everyone seems to love that book even more than the Song of Achilles. And oh, I was like obsessed with this book while I was reading it. Well, actually, while I was listening to it. I listened to this book primarily on audio, and it took me a little bit to get into the audio narration. It always does when the person has an accent, but then I always just love it so much. Like, I think I tend to like narrators with accents more than just people that sound like me when they talk. I just really get into it, and this love story was written so beautifully. So in the Song of Achilles, we follow Patroclus and Achilles, and we follow them from young boys, and then we just follow them as they grow up and as they meet and become friends and fall in love, and as they go off to the Trojan War, and we all know how that ends. And you know, one of the things that I was really surprised about in this book was I was expecting it to be extremely sad, and I'm a very emotional reader. You know, I cry a lot typically when I read books. I mean, I bawled through like the whole second half of Tin Man. You guys remember that and me telling you about that. And so I was expecting to cry a lot in this book, and surprisingly, I didn't. I feel like she really could have made it so much more emotional than it was. But I appreciate that because I was able to really enjoy the story, and I did shed a few tears at the very end, but not really because it was sad, more because it was just so beautiful. Oh, I absolutely love this, and I would recommend it on audio if you're looking for a great audiobook to listen to and one to just get sucked into. I don't know about you guys, but I was really into Greek mythology when I was growing up. I feel like every kid probably goes through that a bit, and so it was nice to read a more like contemporary, I don't know if that's the right word, take on a, you know, a classic story or a classic person from Greek mythology that you remember. And there was lots of names that were thrown around that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that person and that person. And now I'm just like obsessed with Greek mythology. So I need more Greek mythology recommendations. I'm really kind of intimidated to read like the old stuff, like the Odyssey and things like that. It intimidates me for some reason. If you've read it and you find it accessible, please let me know down below because I don't think I ever read that. But yeah, that was the first book I finished in November. And then the second book I finished was Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. And this was another just absolutely beautiful, beautiful book. I love Juliette Marillier's writing. It reminds me a bit of Robin Hobb because it's very purposeful and very character driven. But Juliette Marillier's writing is more kind of like whimsical and flowery, which I know isn't for everyone, but I love really beautiful flowery writing, like not over the top, but just a little bit. And oh man, I absolutely loved it. So in this book we follow this girl named Sorka who her mother died after giving birth to her, and she has 6 brothers, and they're all extremely close. And when this book starts, I think Sorka is like 14, I think 14 or so, 13, 14, and her father decides to remarry after not being married this whole time since her mother died. And of course he has to marry an evil sorceress, and she puts a curse on all of Sorka's brothers. I'm gonna put this down. She puts a curse on all of Sorka's brothers, and she turns them into swans. And Sorka manages to run into the forest and get away from her. And the forest that surrounds their home is called Seven Waters, is where they live. And the Fae folk kind of live in the forest. And one of the Fae comes to Sorka and tells her that she can save her brothers. But in order to do so, she has to complete this very difficult task. It's gonna take her a really long time, and it's gonna be really hard on her. And while she completes this task, she has to remain completely silent. She can't make a single sound. She can't, you know, make any noise at all. And terrible things happen to Sorka. I talked about this in my last video. There's a really hard to read sexual assault scene that takes place in this book. And one of the reasons why I think it was even worse was because she couldn't make a sound. So do know that going in if sexual assault is a trigger for you, because it's a very graphic, hard to read scene. And it is brought up in other parts of the book, just because, I mean, when something like that happens to someone, you don't just get over it, you know, like that. So do know that going into it. But man, I was so into this. It has like Celtic folklore elements to it. And I love anything Fae, which I've told you guys, and yeah, I just can't wait to continue on with this series. I do want to say though, that if you don't read a lot of adult fantasy, I don't know if I would start with Juliet Marillet like in this book. If you've read Robin Hobb and you really enjoy her writing, and you like a little bit more flowery writing, I would maybe give her a try, because you know, she is that really purposeful, very character-driven writer, at least in this. So I think you might enjoy this one, but I don't know if I would necessarily like start off with this book if you haven't read any other adult fantasy, because it is a more slow building book. So yeah. So then a few other books that I have read recently, like in December, so not in November, was number 1, I read Cheerleaders, The First Evil by R.L. Stine. Yes, this is super fun. So I got this entire series on eBay. This was the R.L. Stine Fear Street series that I reread over and over and over again as a kid, and I thought it would just be so fun to reread them. And surprisingly, I couldn't remember everything that happened, and I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't terrible. I don't know if any of you guys read this, but I mean, it wasn't scary or anything, obviously, because I'm an adult now, but it was still really fun. And I would just like flew through it, obviously. I mean, I read this in just like 2 sittings. So yeah, I can't wait to continue on with this series too. Let me know if this was one of your favorites, because it was definitely mine. And then the other book I finished recently, oh, I'm not gonna hold this up because it'll shine, is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I'll just put in a little picture. This is the second book in the duology of The Strange the Dreamer. I'm not really sure. I think it's called The Strange the Dreamer duology. I'm not really sure. But this book takes off right where the first book ended. So I can't really tell you anything because it would be major spoilers. But I really enjoyed this duology, guys. This is the first YA like series that I've read and loved in a really long time. I mean, it wasn't perfect for me. It wasn't like 5 stars. It was more like 4 star for me. But I really enjoyed it. And the audiobooks of these are really great too. The narrator does one voice that kind of, I didn't like very much. But other than that, it was great. It was super fun. I just love Laini Taylor's writing. It's so, she really focuses on the characters and the world, and I'm such a character reader, guys. I mean, there is a plot that goes through and drives the book, obviously, but it's not one of those just plot, like a lot of the other YA series are, like fantasy series. So yeah, I think I'll forever read everything that Laini Taylor writes. So now I'll just quickly tell you guys about the 2 books that I'm currently reading. The first one is Beartown by Frederick Bachman, and I'm currently listening to this one on audio. I always like to have an audiobook going. And I heard that the audio version of this book was pretty good. I've just started it. I'm only about 11 or 12 chapters into it. And this is a pretty popular book series. The second book in the series just came out like a few months ago, but this is pretty popular here on BookTube, as well as just Frederick Bachman in general. I feel like he's talked about a lot, and so far I am really enjoying his writing. But this is about this small town called Beartown. It's a hockey town, and that's really, the hockey team is like really all that this town has going for it. and something's gonna happen involving the hockey team. Like they commit some sort of crime and then the town tries to cover it up to protect the boys. And that's all I really know. You guys know I typically tend to like to go into my books pretty blindly, but if you want a better synopsis, I'm sure you can find one here on YouTube. And I will, I'll always put the little Goodreads links to all the books that I'm reading and have read down below, so you can check it out if you want to. But yeah, so far, really enjoying this, but I'll let you guys know my final thoughts when I finish it. And then the second book I'm currently reading is a fantasy book, because I've just been in such a fantasy kick lately. I've hardly read any horror or thrillers or anything other than like the R.L. Stine book that I read. But I picked up The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This has been on my to-read shelf for a really long time. I've actually owned this book for a really long time because I've heard wonderful things about it and I knew I wanted to read it. And Rachel from The Shades of Orange had messaged me on Voxer and told me she was feeling like picking up some fantasy and she thought she might pick this one up. And so I told her, well, I'll pick it up too, and then we can just kind of chat about it as we go along, like a very loose buddy read, because she reads really fast. But it's always nice to just read a book around the same time as one of your friends and you guys can just kind of chat about it. But the magic system in this book is super cool. I don't fully understand it yet, so I don't feel like I can really explain it. It just has to do with like colors and light and stuff. Once I finish the book, I'll give you guys a better synopsis. But yeah, so far really good. I'm only about 35 pages into it, but it's just moving so fast. And I had heard that the first like third of this book is very slow. Well, not super slow, but just slower. But compared to the other fantasy books I've been reading recently, this one is just moving very, very quickly. So yeah, and the chapters are really short. I'm one of those people that if the chapters are really short, I will fly through books so much quicker. And I feel like typically in fantasy, the chapters tend to be longer, which is something I don't really like. Like in Robin Hobb's books, her chapters are sometimes like 40 pages. 40, 50 pages. And in the other book, what was it? The Daughter of the Forest, they were really long too. Like in this whole entire book, I think there's only 15 chapters. So they were extremely long. But yeah, those are all the books that I've been reading recently and what I'm currently reading. I don't know what I'm going to pick up after this. Katie and I plan on starting the third book in the Tawny Man trilogy soon, which I'm really excited about. But other than that, I've just been kind of being very much a mood reader recently, which is typical for me. But hopefully I will see you guys all again soon. I've been having a hard time finding time to film lately. The way our house is set up, it's so open that if Nora's here, you know, I can't really film like out in the open. I have to film back in my bedroom because you'll hear everything. So yeah, finding time to film has been pretty difficult, but hopefully I will see you guys all again soon. Hope you all are having great holidays, and yeah, I'll see you all again later. Bye.